Did Double Lift make eye contact with you again? What's up, GameLeapers? The Jizz is back at it, and in today's video, we're going to reveal the 10 best builds carving up play in 11.5 and the champions you have to abuse these on. Now, as we all know, Season 11 is literally League of Items. If your champion doesn't synergize well with the new mythics, the new and updated legendaries, and the rest of the shop, chances are you're going to be very upset. Now, do you guys know what will make you happy and win? The Jizz will tell you. The GameLeap website. So for exclusive access to our fresh daily content that is original, it's fire, it's informative, and most importantly, the courses, guides, and videos are guaranteed to help you improve just like thousands of your fellow summoners. So get clicking, guys. Links as always in the description and comment section. All right, let's get into it. And starting off the countdown is one of the staple builds of Season 11, and this core item set is the reason why the best marksmen in the game have been the best marksmen in the game. So the Gale Force and the Collector combo, guys, this is still reigning supreme in that bot lane and elsewhere because Graves, for example, relishes this major item duo as well. The damage is still nuts, especially when you get your serrated Dirk, because these champions, guys, it's not all about auto attacks. Their abilities are where their true power lies, so when you get a Dirk in there, and we ain't talking Nowitzki, your skills are going to be taking lives. Think of a Misfortune bullet time, for instance, or a Graves end of the line. Ouch! Now, ever since Riot buffed the AD in Gale Force way back in 10.25, and nerfed Eclipse over and over again, this is your new favorite GF. That's if any of us had a GF in the first place. But yeah, with the active and this extra AD, you can actually play these marksmen like an assassin almost, in the sense that you can Gale Force into your 4-shot on Jhin, or Gale Force into a Q&R on Graves. Like, you can take half of your opponent's health bar in a split second. And the Jizz also forgot to mention that GF and the Collector combo is also super OP on Kai'Sa, and it's not a coincidence that 3 of the best ADCs in 11.5 are abusing the same items. They're broken. So for Jhin, Misfortune, and Graves, you can follow this up with an Infinity Edge, and if you're a Kai'Sa fan, you can add a Runon's Hurricane into the mix. So Gale Force and the Collector guys for sure one of the strongest item combos in 11.5. Now, just ahead of the GF and TC build, we have another item combo that has been making a heap of noise recently, and 2 champions in particular who are building this at the moment are busted because of it. So guys, Essence Reaver and Immortal Shield Bow, this harmony of major items is coming in at number 9 on our countdown, and let the Jizz ask you, have you run into a Fiora building this or a Corki? On these two 11.5 beasts, it is incredibly hard to deal with. The Essence Reaver Spike for only 2,900 gold is arguably the best in the game right now. You might not get as much AD as the old ER, which gave you a fat 70, but still 55 is decent and actually the same amount Shield Bow gives you. The ability haste is hella valuable because an AD caster like Corki, guess what? You're all about throwing out spells on repeat, and even on Fiora this means more lunges and more vital procs. Then we have the crit, which gets transferred into Fiora's E, and Corki's auto attacks, which is still very important, and then the Spellblade passive, and this is where it sends these 2 champions over the top. You can proc Sheen's damage with Fiora's Q, and with Corki the extra damage is easy to proc with your long range autos, especially once you get rapid fire cannon. Now, another champion you can make work, even though he is kind of trash at the moment, is Gangplank, and this setup gives you an actual power spike in the early mid game, and as GP, yes, the fact your Q triggers the Spellblade passive in ER, it's very oppressive. It's just that, yeah, as Gangplank you can get slaughtered by the best top laners at the moment, and we'll get into some of these and their builds very soon. Now, yeah, Shield Bow, guys, gives you the stats you want, as you can see, but the Lifeline passive is where it's at. In a meta where damage is copious, just like ProGuard's adds, you more often than not need some sort of sustain and survivability. Well, this is just that, and you still pack a big enough punch to take down your opponents. So try out the ER-IS combo, guys, this patch. It is the real deal. Now, coming in at number 8 is a build that has been a mainstay best build ever since the preseason and new shop dropped at the end of last year, just like the Gale Force and the Collector core. So for those of you playing those tick damage mages, Liandry's Anguish complemented by Zhonya's Hourglass is the deadly combination. I mean, what combo isn't OP with a Zhonya's? But yeah, how many of you have had to lane against a Liandry's Anguish Brand or an LA Swain? It's fun, right? Losing half your HP to a burn. So the Jizz is sure by now we all know why Liandry's is good, right? Good damage, especially against healthier teams, and the cooldown mythic passive is huge. So for even a champion like Silas, you can build Liandry's with Zhonya's, and yes, the Hourglass as your second major item instead of Demonic Embrace is important. You see, you already have all the damage you need with Liandry's, guys, and going Demonic straight after, well, it's low-key overkill. Zhonya's is just more pragmatic, if you like, in the sense that there are going to be more situations in games where Zhonya's will be way more OP than Demonic Embrace, and the active is, yeah, the best in the game and gives you the delay you need to throw out the rest of your cooldowns or more of them in fights. So Brand, Swain, Zyra, Silas, Malzahar even, and there are probably other champions you can make it work on. Liandry's and Zhonya's one of the premier builds in 11.5. Now this next build, the Jizz knows for sure you guys have seen it and have probably had nightmares about it, because the 2 champions who can exploit this item combination, well, they become near enough unstoppable. In fact, the only thing that can stop them is their own mental. So number 7 on the countdown, guys, is the Immortal Shield Bow Infinity Edge core that is behind the dominance of Yasuo and Yone, and it feels as if this setup has been around and broken for ages now. You see, when Riot buffed these half brothers in 10.25 and 11.1, guys, one buff especially made them beyond broken because at just 2 critical strike items, your passive turns that 40% crit from the items into 100% crit, meaning that with just a shield bow and infinity edge, you have 100% crit. And because of infinity edge's passive, as you can see on screen, every crit you throw out, which is all the time with your auto attacks and Qs, these crits deal more damage. Now this is bonkers, and if you really care about beating the enemy team mentally as well as on the rift, Bloodthirster as a third item gives you even more sustain and damage and unkillableness. If they aren't banned and you lock in Yasuo or Yone, this is the build you must go to W. Now up next guys, we have a build that is super exciting this patch because one of these items got buffed. So if you're playing Sivir in particular, and you can do the same on Ezreal, even Blue Kayn if you really wanted to, Mirror Mana and Dustblade of Draktar. Guys, this patch, like it was already good before, once you upgraded your Mana Mune, well now it's off chopped. Your abilities deal so much damage, and yeah, you could also make this work on Talon, Kiana even, you know, AD champions whose cooldowns are super important and the primary source of their damage output. Now as you can see, the buff Mirror Mana, okay, your auto attacks deal less damage, but your abilities deal so much more damage because they now also take into account 6% of your total AD and add this as bonus physical damage. So AD casters, just as insane, dude. Now, if you haven't seen the Dustblade purchased before on Ezreal's and Sivir's, then this may come as a shock, but this is real because it's broken. Dustblade's passive, which enhances that first auto attack on a target, that's the main reason people buy Dustblade and maybe for the invisibility. But on Ezreal and Sivir, where your auto attacks with this build mean little, why buy it? Haste, haste, and more haste. You see, your spells, guys, are everything. So your Boomerang Blade and Mystic Shot, it's not like you're building attack speed or critical strike chance, so auto-attacking, yeah, who cares? Using as many abilities as you can during fights is what will carry games. So the 20 ability haste Dustblade provides and the mythic passive that gives you 5 haste for each legendary item you have, this is ideal. You will not only be half healthing your opponent with 1 Q, but also the whole enemy team once you get a few more out there. Really fun and really strong, guys, so give the Mirror Mana DB combo a shot in 11.5. Now the top 5 11.5 builds, guys, are we ready? So coming in at number 5, the Jizz has already said how dumb broken Zhonya's is. Well, there is another Mana Mage mythic it works even better with. So if you are playing a mage and you're not feeling Leandry's or Luden's, Everfrost with a Zhonya's is out of this world. You have the peel, the setup, the damage, the lockdown, the 20-second cooldown active, the survivability, the haste. Like, what don't you have? The only thing you're missing is an invis, and knowing right, they'll probably give this to Everfrost next patch. So yeah, guys, if you're playing Kassadin, Anivia, Ahri, even Twisted Fate, Lysandra, Ryze, champions that can pop off with some hard CC from the Everfrost route, or enable their teammates to pop off, then this combo is sick. Now, the reason Everfrost has seen way more play recently is because Riot buffed it in 11.4, and out of the many buffs, the 2 big ones for this build are the buffs to Glaciate, Everfrost active. It now deals more damage and scales with your AP. So having another source of damage like this is crazy and makes your combos on a champion like Kassadin in particular very scary indeed. But also the utility, guys. So for Twisted Fate, when you land that stun card and root that champion afterwards, there's no way if your team is in the same Bosco that target survives. So you have a couple of ways to go about carrying. And then we have Zhonya's, which yeah, lets you make these risky plays free of charge, and it's extremely hard to kill you with that stasis and glaciate root. So if you want to root yourselves in victories this patch, guys, what a trash joke, then use this build, it's broken. Now speaking of broken builds, this next one, guys, is for all you AD assassins and has become the go-to combo in 11.5, and we're about to find out why. So for the next 2 weeks, guys, Prowler's Claw and Serpent's Fang. This is one of the most potent builds going around and is number 4 on our countdown. So if you're playing a bit of Talon, Kiana, even on Zed, this can be giga broken. Prowler's Claw gives you the most lethality out of any item in that infamous Season 11 shop, so you can one-shot anyone on the Rift when you invest that 3,200 gold, and the active on these AD assassins is unreal, because guys, you need to be up close and personal to put in that work, so to get a free dash which increases your follow-up damage to that target is nutty, and the level 1 change is still a major benefit. You get 10 more ability haste, which is a key stat on these assassins, because yeah, your abilities matter. If you don't have them, you are useless. Now your second item, Serpent's Fang, this got buffed this patch, guys, so it reduces the strength of shields on that champion and incoming shields too. And in 11.5, shields all over the place, a bit like the Jizz himself. So think of Steris Gage, think of Guardian, think of Gargoyles, think of Bloodthirster, Shield Bow. There's just too many, man. So if you damage that champion with an auto attack or ability, they are going to be way more killable. How good is that? So yeah, if you're playing an AD assassin, guys, 11.5 is looking poggers. Just make sure to get into the Claw and the Fang. Alright, we're into the top 3 builds, guys, for the current meta. And before we send it, one last friendly reminder to check out the GameLeap website if you want to become the best you can be. If you want to keep toiling away, winning, and then losing, no worries. But if you want to buck that trend and start seeing victory on the reg, do yourself a favor and get signed up. Links down below. Right now, the third best build of 11.5, guys. This is easily one of the most oppressive, hard to deal with zero counterplay builds of Season 11, and if you're a bruiser, you will be happier than a pig and poop. Now, who saw the Stride Breaker change? The GAMEJIZZ sure did, and if you pair this with a Asterisk Gauge on champions like Darius, Gnar, and Garen, it is over. No one is escaping your wrath. So the extra range on the Breaker's dash, like you could even call it game breaking, it's that broken, and this means you have more kill potential in lane and in team fights, and your biggest weakness as these fighters is getting kited, right? Well, the chances of that now happening are slim to none. This playstyle, guys, is basically idiot-proof, which is why the GAMEJIZZ will be testing it out. Now, Asterisk Gauge may be less useful because of the Serpent's Fang buff, but not every game are you going to play against an AD assassin with the Fang, so your gauge power is still big, as is your overall power on these bruisers. So guys, if you're in that top lane or playing mid Nocturne, Stride Breaker plus gauge equals LP. Now, the runner-up build to the best build in 11.5, guys, is the source of all that strength boasted by AP assassins. So think of Diana and Elise here. These two have had the highest win rates for multiple patches now. So your first item, you want Night Harvester, followed by Lichbane, followed by Zhonya's Hourglass. There it is again, the ZH. Now, this 3-item setup has been out since the new mythic items were released, right, back in preseason, but ever since Riot added AP into the Harvester and a bit more health, and this was back in 11.1, these two champions have been tearing up YOLO Q. You see this damage, this build, it screams burst, and for champions like Diana and Elise who can apply Lichbanes on hit easily, this is fire. Now, more of Mount Mortius is getting buffed, so it costs 300 less gold, but guess what? Magic resist items generally suck, and if you do buy more, you lock yourself out of buying Asterisk Gauge or Immortal Shield Bow, two vastly superior items. Of course, it depends on the champion you're playing, but generally speaking, guys, more is very meh, which is good news for this silver medal build. So Harvester, the Bane, and ZH, give this a try in your games, guys. You have a ridiculous amount of 1v9 potential. Now, 2 weeks ago, guys, the #1 build, can you remember it? It was indeed the Ginsu's Kraken Slayer center build, but this got nerfed, so what has replaced it? Well, a similar situation, because there is one champion who is abusing this for free LP so far in 11.5, so much so that he has the highest win rate out of all the champions. Now, the buff to Stride Breaker we've covered, but the build actually starts with a Titanic Hydra. Now, the reason for this is that in 11.4, there was a buff that increased your W's on-hit damage, meaning that items like Titanic Hydra and Black Cleaver are way more effective. So with Titanic, that cleave passive procs on your W, and speaking of cleaving, Black Cleaver is the final item in the build, guys. So Titanic, Stride Breaker, Cleaver, and the champion you have to exploit this on before Rito pulls out the nerfs is Urgot, who has a 53% win rate across the board at the moment. The buff Black Cleaver, which costs 200 less gold, the movement speed passive it now has is nuts because you have that sticking power that not many other champions have, and no one is going to escape those legs of yours. So guys, build any of these combinations in the next week or so and you will be climbing like never before, and if you think you have a better, more secret OP build than the ones mentioned, feel free to let us know in the comments. Remember to subscribe and turn on all notifications before leaving, guys. This has been GameJIZZ, and until tomorrow's video, peace.